I once picked up night shifts on a lonely stretch of highway in Arizona. I liked the quiet. I liked the dark. Most nights felt the same. Empty road. Static on the radio. A sky so wide it made you forget you were just a man inside a moving box of metal and glass. Then came the night I stopped telling myself that silence was safe. It started after midnight. The air was warm. The road shimmered like it held its breath. I had not seen headlights for miles. My tank was half full. My eyes were steady. Then I noticed a figure at the side of the road. A man. Or I thought it was a man. He stood very still. He faced the desert, not the highway. I slowed down. I could not explain why. Something in me wanted to pass him without looking, but I had already looked. His clothes were old. Not dirty, not torn, just old, like they belonged in a different time. His arms hung loose, his head tilted as if he listened to something under the sand. I told myself he might need help. I rolled down my window. The heat rushed in. I leaned out and asked if he was all right. He did not move. I asked again. My voice cracked. The man turned. The motion was slow, too slow. His face looked wrong. Not violent, not wounded, just empty. I felt a pressure in my ears like the air was changing. I pulled my arm back and gripped the wheel. My brain screamed to drive, but my body froze. He reached the passenger door. He did not try to open it. He pressed his hand to the window. The glass fogged under his palm. I could not hear anything. Not wind, not insects, only my heart. Then he spoke. His voice was dry, soft, a whisper that felt too close to my ear. He said he needed a ride, a simple request, so normal that it made everything around it feel more wrong. I asked where he was going. He said he was not sure. He only knew he had to keep moving. His eyes did not blink. I stared at his hand. I noticed something I had missed before. His fingers were too long, slightly bent in ways that made my stomach twist. I said I could not take him. He leaned in, as if he could see through the tint of the glass. He said I had already stopped. He said that meant something. My chest tightened. I broke from the freeze. I slammed the gas. The tires spit dust. The man stepped back, but only a little. I passed him. I did not look in the mirror until the road curved and the sky grew lighter. When I did look, he was gone. Not just small in the distance. Gone. No figure. No shadow. No sign anyone had stood there. I tried to calm down. I told myself, the heat had tricked me. The dark had played with my eyes. People see strange things on empty highways. I reached an all-night gas station. The neon buzzed. I stepped out to stretch. The attendant inside did not look up. I walked to the restroom and splashed cold water on my face. When I looked at the mirror, I felt a weight behind me. Not a touch, just a presence. I turned fast. Nothing. I breathed hard. Too hard. I walked out. I was ready to pay for gas. The attendant looked up this time. He stared at me like I had something on my face. I asked what was wrong. He said he thought I came in with someone. I told him no. He said he saw a man follow me from the lot. He said the man stood behind me when I passed the counter. A shiver ran up my spine. I told him that no one was there. The attendant kept staring. Then he pointed to the glass door. His hand trembled. There was a long smear across the outside of the glass, a shape like a hand. 5 long streaks. Too long. The same size as the man on the road. I walked closer. My breath shook. The smear was not dust, not oil. It looked like condensation, like someone had pressed a cold hand to warm glass. I backed away. I left the station fast. When I got in my car, the night felt heavier. The shadows crawled at the edge of the headlights. I drove without music. The quiet felt alive. Every few minutes, I checked the back seat. Every time I did, I expected to see him. I never did. But that did not make me feel safe. By the time dawn broke, I had convinced myself it was over. I pulled into the depot and shut off the engine. My hands still shook. I stepped out. The air smelled clean. For a moment, I felt normal. Then, I saw the passenger window, the fogged print from earlier, the outline of his hand. It had not faded. Worse than that, it had spread. Thin trails streaked downward, like something had dragged its fingers toward the door handle. I touched the glass and felt a chill. The sun was warm, but the glass felt cold. Too cold. I quit the night shift that week. I drive days now. But some nights, I wake up and feel watched. Like someone stands just outside the window, waiting, listening to something under the ground. And every time I pass a long, empty stretch of road, I cannot shake the feeling that he is still moving, still walking, looking for the car that stopped for him, looking for me. I used to think night driving was peaceful because the road went quiet and the world seemed to sink into a darker rhythm that matched my own thoughts. But everything changed during one winter run on a 2-lane highway in western Kansas, where the snow drifted across the asphalt in thin white sheets that looked alive. I had taken a route I knew well because I had driven it since my 20s. It was empty farmland, wind turbines, and the occasional lonely gas station with a humming freezer that made the whole place feel colder. I started the haul around 10 at night with a thermos of coffee, a sandwich, and a sense that nothing unusual would happen. The radio kept cutting in and out because the signal out there was terrible. Sometimes all I heard was static with a faint voice behind it that sounded like someone trying to talk through crushed metal. Around midnight, I saw a figure on the shoulder. It was strange because no one hitchhiked out there in the dead cold. At first, it looked like a man wearing a heavy coat. He stood near a mile marker with his arm up as if waving me down. I slowed because something in me felt I was supposed to. But when the truck lights hit him full on, I saw his head was tilted at a wrong angle and one shoulder hung lower like it had been broken. His coat looked soaked even though there was no snow falling. I thought maybe he had been in a wreck. I looked for a crashed vehicle but saw nothing behind him. I rolled past slowly. He did not move. He just stared directly at me with dark eyes that did not reflect the headlights. That was the strange part, because most eyes catch light at night. His did not. I grabbed my CB to call in a possible roadside injury, but the radio spat a high-pitched tone and then cut out completely. I looked in my side mirror to check on the man. He was gone. The highway shoulder was empty except for the drifting snow. My stomach felt tight, but I kept driving because there was no place to stop. The next 20 miles went silent, except for the engine. My thermos rattled against the cup holder every time the wind pushed the trailer. I tried the radio again, but it was dead like the power inside it had been drained. Around mile marker 73, something tapped the passenger side window. It was a light tap like a fingernail. I looked over expecting ice had hit it, but the glass was clear. Then, another tap came. This time, it traced along the window as if someone dragged a finger across the glass. I gripped the wheel. The road was straight, flat, and empty. There was no one out there. The tap came again, but slower and longer. I pressed the accelerator. The truck groaned and picked up speed. The sound stopped. I felt relief for half a second until I heard something in the sleeper behind me. It was soft at first, like someone shifting their weight on the mattress. I told myself it was the route making the trailer sway, but the sound grew sharper. Something like a heel lightly touching the floor, then another. Slow steps. I kept my eyes locked on the windshield because I knew if I turned around, I would panic and maybe lose control of the truck. The steps got closer. I could feel the pressure in the air change like someone breathing behind me. The smell hit next. It was metallic and cold. It reminded me of old blood that had dried on tools. My hands shook. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. Then I heard a voice behind my left ear. It was low and broken like someone trying to talk through frozen lungs. It said something that sounded like "still here." I flinched and jerked the wheel. The truck drifted toward the median. I forced it back and finally looked in the side mirror. I saw something sitting in the passenger seat. It was the man from the road. His head leaned toward me. His eyes were black hollows. His coat looked even wetter than before. Water dripped from him and pooled on the seat even though the cab was warm. His mouth opened slightly. No sound came out, but I saw his chest rise like he was trying to breathe. I slammed the brakes. The truck fishtailed and screeched across the snow-lined pavement until it stopped. I grabbed the door handle and scrambled out into the cold night. I fell to my knees because my legs would not hold me. The wind cut through my jacket. I stepped back from the truck, expecting the door to open, but the cab stayed dark. I forced myself to walk around to the passenger side. The window was untouched. No water, no scratches. The seat inside was dry. No footprints. No sign of anyone being there. I stood in the road for maybe a minute while the wind howled and the engine ticked as it cooled. I thought I had lost my mind. A pair of headlights appeared in the distance. A state trooper pulled up beside me. He stepped out and asked if I had seen someone on the road because he had taken a call about a man hit by a truck earlier that week. He said the victim had been thrown into a ditch and they had not recovered the body yet. They suspected he had wandered off badly injured before collapsing somewhere in the fields. He asked if I had seen anything. I lied. I said no because I was afraid he would think I was delirious. The trooper nodded, wished me a safe night, and drove off. I climbed back into the cab. My hands shook so hard I could barely turn the key. The engine roared back to life. I drove the remaining hours with every light on. I reached my drop point at dawn and parked. When I stepped out, I noticed a single wet footprint on the passenger side step. It did not match my boots. It looked bare, toes, heel, all of it. The print was icy cold when I touched it. I quit long-haul routes 2 weeks later. Now I drive local runs near home. People ask why, and I always say I got tired of the night roads. The truth is that sometimes when I drive past reflective surfaces, I see a shape behind me in the back of the cab. It looks like a man sitting very still, with his head tilted and his shoulder hanging low. I try not to look long. It always fades when I blink. But every once in a while, when the road is quiet and the air gets cold, I hear a faint tap on the window followed by a whisper behind my ear that sounds like "still here." I used to think that night driving just made people see things that were not there. Darkness tricks you. Fatigue tricks you. The vibration of a long haul puts thoughts in your head that do not belong to you. I believed that for years. Then the thing on Highway 74 happened. I wish I had kept that old belief. It was safer than the truth. I had been on the road for 19 hours, and my dispatcher wanted me to push another 80 miles. I argued a bit, but you know how this business works. Deadlines eat logic. I grabbed a coffee that tasted like burned cardboard and kept rolling. The night was dry and cold. No moon, no traffic. Only my engine and the long ribbon of asphalt stretching straight into a black that felt like it had weight. I kept the radio low. Old habit. I like to hear the nights around me. Some drivers say that is a mistake. They like noise to fill up the empty space. But I want to know when something is off. And that night, something was off from the start. It began with the smell. A faint odor like wet soil. Not rain, not mud. More like a field that had been freshly dug. The smell drifted in through the vents, even though the night outside was dry. I cracked the window for air. The smell got stronger. I shut the window again and tried not to think about it. A few miles later, my lights caught a figure on the shoulder. A man. Thin. Wearing something that looked like a clean white shirt. He did not wave. He did not move. He stood perfectly still. His face seemed pale. Too pale. I remember that. I remember thinking he looked like he had been standing there for a long time. But I passed fast, and the darkness swallowed him. I did not worry at first. People break down. People walk for miles. You see every type on the road. But something about that man stuck in my mind. Maybe his stillness, or the way the white shirt stayed bright even under weak headlights. It bothered me enough that I checked my mirrors. He was gone. Not walking. Not shrinking into the distance. Gone like he had stepped straight off the highway in the second it took me to glance away. The smell came back, stronger, wet soil, fresh earth. I tried to shake it off. Another 10 miles, another figure, same place on the shoulder, same white shirt, same pale face. My throat tightened, my hands tightened on the wheel. I could swear it was the same man. But that made no sense. I was doing 65. There was no way he could get ahead of me. I told myself the shirt only looked the same. Maybe white shirts were common around here. Maybe there were road workers. Maybe something else. I spoke to myself out loud. That is something drivers do when the night gets too heavy. It keeps you connected. It keeps you sane. But the words felt thin in my mouth. At mile marker 212, the radio fizzed. Static. No reason for it. Weather was clear. Terrain was flat. The signal should have been perfect. But everything went quiet. Only the static hiss and the engine. Then I saw him again. This time, he stood closer to the lane. Not dangerous, just closer, like he wanted me to see him. His pale face reflected the light, but his eyes were wrong. They looked dark, but not shadowed. More like depth. As if the eyes were not eyes, but deep holes. Like the rest of his face was stretched over something hollow. I gripped the wheel and kept going. The smell was almost choking now. I checked the vents. They were fine. My window was shut tight. The odor still filled the cab. I tried to breathe slow. I tried not to panic. The static on the radio shifted. Not voices. Not music. Just rhythm. A pattern. A slow pulsing. Like a breath. I turned the radio off. The pulsing continued. It was not the radio. I cannot explain that part. It sounded like something behind the dashboard was breathing. I told myself I needed rest. That is the classic sign of fatigue. Hearing things, smelling things, seeing things. But even as I told myself that, I knew this was different. My body knew it before my mind did. The hairs on my arms stood straight. My back tensed. My legs felt cold. The night outside looked normal, but everything in me said something else was in the dark. Something watching. Something waiting. At mile marker 224, the headlights dimmed. Not flickered. Dimmed as if something heavy passed in front of them. The road disappeared into black and came back again. I slowed down. Carefully. Smoothly. I did not want to stop. Stopping felt like a mistake. Stopping felt like inviting something into the cab. But the road forced my hand. Because the man stood right in the middle of the lane. White shirt. Pale face. Black eyes. I slammed the brakes hard. The trailer shuddered. The load shifted. The tires screamed. But the man did not move. He stood straight. Perfectly straight. His arms hung at his sides. His face calm. Almost patient. The truck stopped 10 feet from him. My heart felt like a fist trying to punch itself free. I leaned forward. My hands shaking. I reached for the horn but stopped halfway. Something in me said, "Do not do it. Do not draw his attention." But that made no sense, because he was already staring at me, not blinking. I locked the doors. My breath fogged the glass. The smell of wet soil filled my throat. I blinked, and the man was gone. Just gone. No movement. No trace. 1 second he was there. The next, he was not. The headlights brightened again like nothing had happened. I wanted to drive. I needed to. But my hands would not release the wheel. I sat there for almost a full minute. Listening. Waiting. Nothing moved outside. But the night felt thick. Like the air had shape. Then, the passenger seat cushion sank. Slowly. As if someone sat down on it. The seat dipped. The fabric stretched. The truck creaked a little. My body went cold and numb. I did not turn my head. I knew something was there, something sitting beside me, close enough to touch, close enough to whisper. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the breathing started. Slow. Wet. Not human. Not even animal. It sounded like air pulled through mud. Thick and heavy. Each breath carried that smell. Freshly dug earth. It filled the cab like fog. I stared ahead. Eyes locked on the empty road. My hands white on the wheel. If I moved, if I looked, if I acknowledged it, something told me I would not make it out. The breathing grew louder, closer. I felt the cushion dip deeper. I felt the air warm near my ear. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But I was frozen. Completely frozen. Then it whispered. One word. Not loud. Not clear. But right against my ear. It said my name. I do not know how it knew my name. I do not want to know. My foot found the accelerator by instinct. I pressed it down. Hard. The truck lurched forward. The seat beside me rose as if the weight left it. The breathing stopped. The smell began to fade. I drove faster than I should have. I did not care. I did not check mirrors. I did not blink. The road ahead seemed brighter. The radio crackled back to life. My heart pounded, but my mind felt strangely empty. By the time I reached the next rest stop, the smell was gone. The air felt normal. The cab felt normal. But the passenger seat still had a deep impression, like someone had sat there for a long time. I never drove that route again. I told the company to reassign me. They laughed. They said drivers get superstitious. I did not argue, because I know what I saw. I know what sat beside me. I know what whispered my name. And sometimes when I drive at night on safer routes, I still catch that faint smell. Wet earth, fresh soil. It sneaks in, quiet, like a warning. I tell myself it is just memory, nothing more. But every time I smell it, I check the passenger seat. And every time I check, I swear the cushion looks just a little lower.